All right, it's fight week, and this is a massive fight that we've been waiting for in the lightweight division. And it poses the question, since Devin Haney right now is the reigning undisputed champion right now at 135 pounds, the biggest question leading into this fight against Vasiliy Lomachenko is, Brian, let me know what happens if Devin Haney wins this fight against Lomachenko. What would be next for him?
Which the sports books expect because he is a favorite and more of a favorite now than when he was when the fight was announced, which we're going to get into in our betting preview later this week. But if Devin Haney wins, and we did this with Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, the what happens if this person wins, what happens if this person wins. We're going to do this for bigger fights. But for this one, we kind of know that Devin Haney is on a collision course with Shakur Stevenson if he wins this fight. It would be smart if Top Rank were to make that fight. It would be dumb for them not to do that, considering the ties are already there and it's easy to make promotionally. And assuming Devin Haney walks away with a decision victory, knockout victory, whatever it is, it doesn't matter how he wins. That should be next. The other options are really like, is he going to go and fight Gervonta Tank Davis? But we know that promotionally with Shakur Stevenson right there, Bob Arum and Top Rank will be wise to just keep that in-house. So ultimately, what I think is going to happen is Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and perhaps it's, in the fall, October, November. Hopefully that's going to be later this year. And if you remember, everyone listening, watching, Shakur Stevenson knocked out Shishiro Yoshino in 6 rounds, I believe, in April. So, yeah, this is something that we should see probably in that August through November range, let's say.
Was there not also talk, though, that Devin Haney was going to leave Top Rank? Was that not a discussion? Is this his last fight on Top Rank?
Well, so the text to Mark Kriegel that we referenced, so he texted Mark Kriegel during the Shakur Stevenson fight that we just mentioned in April, saying that their plan is to stay at lightweight, and there was nothing said about whether or not this would be his last fight with Top Rank. But I think Bob Arum will put up the money for that in
Yeah.
totality, right? Like Devin Haney could do what he wants because he's not tied to anyone long term, and we know that this fight is being not just promoted by Top Rank, but also co-promoted by Lou DiBella. And we always say about Lou DiBella, he's just down to make a fight. He doesn't care what network it's on,
Yeah.
as long as it's a great fight and the money at least makes sense, right? But I think more of the variable there is that ESPN would be wise to want to keep that in house. Now, Devin Haney, if he's going to end up bolting, doing what he wants, we'll see. But I mean, we both would acknowledge, I believe, Shantelle, that it'd be shocking to see him just leave and not fight Shakur Stevenson after this.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the route that everyone thinks that Devin is going to take. And everyone's talking about how it would be a massive fight. Of course, if he does get past Lomachenko, Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. But I do think the bigger fight is him and Tank Davis, because I think that is a blockbuster fight, especially if Devin Haney does win. Like we're talking about, he's still going to have all of his belts. And then you got a guy like Tank Davis, who is arguably the face of boxing right now. And this is a fight where you're having, one of the best defensive boxers with arguably the best jab in the division. And then you got Tank Davis, who's got ridiculous power, and do not sleep on his skill because he does have skill as well. And I think that's the bigger fight that fans would probably want to pay to see. However, Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, that is one hell of a fight. And these two have been trying to put this fight on for a little while now. There's been talks about it, right? That they want to fight each other. And Devin Haney, I believe Shakur Stevenson were talking on Twitter, and they both said they want to make this fight happen. And the fact that they're both going to be under that Top Rank umbrella, it just makes things easier. So I do think that's a fight that we are possibly going to get, hopefully. And, because I don't see Devin fighting someone else after Lomachenko. And the one thing that I do want to say is what happens if Devin Haney beats Vasiliy Lomachenko. I think you got to put him up with, top 2 on the pound for pound list. Because how would you not? He's beating all the guys that you want him to. Like if he beats Lomachenko, this is a guy that was arguably number 1 on the pound for pound list before Teofimo Lopez beat him. Right? He's fighting dudes. I don't even think we put enough credit on Devin Haney's name when you think about the fact that when he fought George Kambosos Jr., He went all the way to Australia to do it. He wasn't fighting in his comfort zone in Vegas or in LA or something like that. He was fighting in Australia. Then he ran it back in Australia. And I think there's a lot of weight on that as well. So it's one of those things where I think after this fight, if he does beat Lomachenko, I don't think there should be any questions about Devin Haney, because there are some questions about Devin Haney when it comes to, he doesn't have the power. Is he going to be that superstar that can have those pay-per-view numbers like a guy like Tank? Like, there are some questions, but I think if he gets this win over Lomachenko, I think those questions got to stop.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the pound for pound list, because I have it in front of me. And he's not on the pound for pound list at all.
Which pound for a pound list is this?
Ring Magazine.
That's ridiculous. He's undisputed. How is this top 10?
It's top 10. I'm gonna give it to you right now.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Let me hear this. How can you leave an undisputed champ? There is only Devin Haney, Jermell Charlo, and Canelo.
We're gonna do this together as a family, people. Do you want, Shantelle? Do you want 10-1 or 1-10? The order.
1-10.
Alexander Usyk.
Okay, I can get
Naoya Inoue. Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Canelo Alvarez. That's your top 5. Dimitri Bivol, Vasiliy Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, Jermell Charlo, Gervonta Tank Davis. You are not happy with that list?
Loma's on there, but Devin Haney isn't.
Well, let's also remember about the pound for pound list is that, like, they have, it's not just like, clearly it's not only what have you done for me lately, but it's also a body of work.
Who's on your resume? Yeah.
Lomachenko was dominant at 126 and 130. And I think that weighs into it. Interestingly enough, he and Canelo Alvarez have fairly recent losses and still are on that list. I don't know why Canelo's above Dimitri Bivol on that list, but Canelo Alvarez on that list.
Canelo's body of work, like you just mentioned it, it probably has to do with body of work. Like,
I think Bivol beating him goes out the window. But I to your point, here's the thing. I think Lomachenko, if he loses this fight, he's off the list entirely.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But yes.
No, I just think if Devin Haney wins this fight against Vasiliy Lomachenko, I think Haney ends up entering the list in Lomachenko's place. But body of work for Devin Haney, I think is still like
questionable.
This will establish it more so, right? There are some impressive wins. Jorge Linares, which
that was a fight where he landed a lot on Devin Haney once he
rocked him at the end of round 10. Yeah.
And same thing with Jojo Diaz had some success when he got on the inside. And it took him like a few rounds to get him, maybe 4 or 5 rounds to figure that part out and tried to get Devin Haney to fight on the inside. And we'll get into that during the preview into betting. We'll talk about that as well, how we kind of see the fight going. So make sure to tune into that. But I think once Lomachenko is on Devin Haney's resume, automatically on the pound for pound list. Like, we got to stop leaving him off that list.
He'll be on the pound for pound list because this will give him the body of work victory, the resume victory over one of the boogeymen in boxing for the last several years. Let's wrap here. I will give you some more contenders that we could be talking about here, even though I think this is really, you know what? Actually, let's save that for the Lomachenko portion because there may be more possibilities there. Because I think if Devin Haney wins, it's Shakur Stevenson or bust, unless Gervonta Davis sort of gets in here. But yeah, I don't see that happening before Shakur Stevenson bout. I think Gervonta Davis fights somebody else in the meantime.